Welcome to the Wedding Workflow Podcast, the show for wedding professionals, engaged couples, or anyone involved in the wedding world. We'll be talking about everything from picking a venue, what to look for in a photographer, how to work with your DJ to get people on the dance floor, and how to handle all the craziness of planning a wedding. We hope you get something valuable from our show and our guests, and invite you to join us every Wednesday here at the Wedding Workflow Podcast.
All right, it feels good to be back.
Oh, we are back at it, everybody. We are excited to be here, and we have a very special guest today, Kerri Lambert. How are you doing?
I am fabulous, darling. How are you?
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. So a little bit about Kerri. She owns Century Farms and the Bolton Manor. Century Farms located in Carrollton, Ohio, and the Bolton Manor is located in Alliance, Ohio. So we are super excited. This is a very busy lady, so we are blessed to be able to have her a part of this today. So yeah, Kerri. So yeah, just I guess tell us a little about yourself. I mean, I know she was the manager of Century Farms for a very long time. That's how we met. Mm-hmm. And now, not too long ago, she owns the place. So a lot has happened, and then another venue out of nowhere. So we just got
that was
Kerri's had a busy year or so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you get the job at Century Farms, and how did you now, I guess, own it?
The story of my life.
Yeah, the story. Tell us a little background story.
My husband and I got engaged in 2016 in October, and then I wanted to get married in our friend's lake, basically. I wanted to be in the water, like in the lake. And he went to ask him if, we could get married there, and he said, hey, I proposed to Kerri, and he goes, you got to see my brother-in-law's place. Just stop the conversation. You have to go. So we ended up going and touring Century Farms, which Don Warner owned, and fell in love with it. It's hard not to fall in love with that barn the first time. The second time, the 10th time.
If I remember right, was that his home at one point?
Yeah, the barn was built in the 30s. It was originally a milking barn, and then it was a cattle farm, and then it was just used for storage for decades. Wow. That owner was a client of Don's.
Wow.
And when he went to sell it, Don bought it off of him as a gift for his wife. So
that is one heck of a gift.
It is. Robin's aunt had converted a barn in Minnesota and lived in it, so she always wanted to live in a barn, and he did that renovation for her. They lived there for 3.5 years. They had a couple tester weddings, some family weddings, and in 2017 they just popped off. Century Farms.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So how long did they end up actually living there before they turned into a wedding venue?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, 3.5 years without any events. Probably 4 years total that they actually are day to day in the barn.
Yeah, and I highly encourage anyone, like probably what you might be picturing something right now. I highly encourage you to look up some pictures of this place because you would not believe that this was someone's house. I mean, it is amazing.
And they always ask, like, what's this? What's that? And when we tell you, like, this was done to be someone's home, they're like, no way.
It
just makes sense. But not everybody wants to hear the history, but it's pretty cool to know when you're walking through the building.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, especially. And it makes it very interesting, especially with some of the, because there's like lofts areas and stuff like that, and I always thought that was really interesting.
Piano.
That will never leave.
Yeah, I feel like
ever.
Yeah. Like, do you know the story of how that got up there?
Yep. It took 8 men, 6 hours to take that thing up the steps. They wanted to use a crane, and everybody that they asked refused because if it came down, it was going through the floor. It was going to kill somebody. It was going to collapse the barn. So 8 men, 6 hours, step by step, up those stairs.
And you got to watch out for those beams too.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
not much room for error.
Foot, just duck.
Not a lot of room for anything to go wrong in that.
No.
Yeah, man, that's cool. I've always wondered, because I actually Century Farms was the first place I ever DJ'd, and I remember going there and having kind of going through all the first DJ stress and you were so you guys were helping out, just being
Kerri's a great person to do your first wedding with. I feel like to ease any of
I'll road you through it. You'll be good. You'll be fine. And we're gonna make this happen.
It was good.
So what made you fall in love with the place when you toured it as a potential buyer, I guess?
I am one of those weirdos that really connects to scent. And I used to work for Home Depot. This is going to sound so weird.
Wow, I did not expect it to go this way.
Right. You didn't ask this one before. I used to work for Home Depot in flooring. And I would be the one putting away the samples and that fresh cut wood smell.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
So as soon as we walked through the barn, which it's sad, I can't smell it anymore, but as soon as we walked in the door, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is so nice.
Yeah, yeah. It does have a very nice smell. That is true.
Does. And it's air conditioned, so that got me as well, because we knew we couldn't have a fall wedding since we're Ohio State fans.
Yeah.
Our own bridal party wouldn't have showed up.
Oh, wow.
If
That's
the Buckeyes
hardcore.
were playing.
That's hardcore
So
fans.
we had to go spring or summer. We ended up going with June. It was the hottest day of that year.
Wow.
But
Yep.
it also
Jeez.
prompted Don Warner to put in more air conditioning when
So
we
it
got
worked
back
out.
from our
There you go.
honeymoon.
It definitely
But
worked out.
Well,
It worked
I
out.
had a June wedding that was hot. You had a July wedding.
July, yeah, it was a hot one. That was a hot one
This
too,
last
yeah.
month has been just
Wicked.
like
Oh yeah.
Wicked.
so intense.
Yeah.
But it's so nice that Century Farms does have air conditioning, because a lot of these barns don't.
Oh yeah.
No.
And that makes for some very hot days. I mean, or
Sometimes
some
it
very
can get-
cold days.
It can get hotter inside the barn than outside at a lot of venues.
Oh my gosh.
I like to ask brides, like, have you gone and toured anything? Are you looking for a barn aesthetic? And they're like, oh yeah, but we weren't expecting this. Like, well, where have you gone? And they'll be like, the one place we could see through the wall. And I'm like, yeah, they're not air conditioned.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been to that. I've
That's
done
going to be
one
a
there.
hot one, or that's going to be freezing in the winter. And they're all different. They all have their charm. If that's what you want and your date that you want is available, by all means do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But
There's definitely a
kinda-
peace of mind that comes with having air
Yeah.
conditioning.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
that's-
The worst venue that was like the hottest was they
oh
had.
no, we're going to talk crap about people.
It was. I won't say the place, but
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it was the middle of July, and it was in a greenhouse. So it amplified the heat to like 120 degrees, and they were. I was like, "Why'd you guys pick this venue?" And they're like,
Because it's
"We came in the
pretty.
fall."
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot cooler in the fall."
Oh, yeah. So sweet. So yeah. So you fell in love with the smell.
We fell in love with the barn.
Was your
Um,
fiance also in love with?
Oh, he's a
the
country
place?
boy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this
He-
was probably heaven. Yeah. Okay.
It was heaven for him, and I'm like, okay, this changes the game of our wedding. So we ended up having the bigger wedding. But I opened my trap during the tour, and we got contracted to build the pergola out front. And after the pergola was done, Don asked me to work for him. So that's how I
So
became a
cool.
worker there. We finished that in April of 17. I was still at Home Depot. So it
Oh.
was part-time until
Wow.
fall. And when October came, he's like, do you just want to run this for me? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So full-time for them. And he had me working at the hotel, which I never wanted to do.
Oh, really? Oh,
Nor
you
will I ever again.
So,
There you go.
so for anyone that doesn't know, there is a hotel close by, like kind of pretty much on the property. Close
Well,
by.
We have the villas.
Yeah, right. With the villas,
Yes.
yeah.
And then across the street, there's a microtel. We do not own that.
Oh, you don't own that?
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
perfect. Okay.
And then down the road, there's a Candlewood. We do not own that.
Okay.
The main building, like in our little property area, used to be a hotel that Don Warner
Oh.
used to own.
Oh, okay, okay.
No longer own it. No longer
Yeah,
a hotel.
yeah.
I don't have to ever go in that building again.
Oh, nice. Yes.
But the villas are awesome, and we kept
yeah.
those.
Yeah,
So
and,
those
and,
are
and that
perfect.
is something that really helps you guys stand out as well. I'm sure.
Lodging on site.
Yeah, and the villas are really beautiful. I mean,
Yes.
they really look like what you would imagine, like an Airbnb
Yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Right. Have you ever been to Gervasi?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So the inspiration for how they did the barn with all the black wrought iron was from Gervasi.
Oh,
wow.
From their barn that they redid. And then when he did add on to the main hotel with the villas, he chose the name the villas from Gervasi.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
And
so
I'm
cool.
like, if I'm going to walk in there, am I going to see like the same colors?
Right? Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah.
So,
But
and
no, they're
there's
different.
how many villas are there?
There's two.
2 villas. Okay.
2 villas, 5 hotel rooms each. They are hotel rooms. You have your own bathroom. You have
Wow.
2 beds
That's very
in
nice.
each room, and then a big common area space for everybody to get together and hang out.
That is very
Yeah,
nice.
and it's always nice having like somewhere on site where you can get ready and you don't have to like, get a bus to take
Well, it's a
everybody.
game changer.
You can stumble to your room after
Yeah.
you're all
Right,
good and
right.
liquored up at the
Yep.
end of the night.
Yeah.
Bring-
But
bring
taking
your
on
firewood.
that job is probably it has to be was a pretty big job, right? I mean, you guys, how many at that time, or like if you want to share maybe now, like how many events do you feel like you guys maybe are doing a year?
Oh, I know. 17 we had 32, 18 we had 37, 19 we had 39, 20 we were supposed to have 40, we had 20. Last year we had like 35.
That's wonderful.
And then this year we had 45 on the books.
So this is record-breaking year.
Yeah.
This year has been nuts.
Yeah.
Wow. So congrats. I mean,
Thank
that's
you.
record-breaking.
Thank you. A little nerve-wracking.
Do you
but
feel like anything happened to like why that is, or like
everybody's half of it is COVID
Yeah.
and half of it is because 2022 is a catchy year.
true?
Yeah,
it
there's
is.
a
The
lot of
date,
dates that have like nice.
2022. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
why 2020 was going to be insane.
It was.
Because you had
Yeah.
10/10/2020. That girl got so lucky she bought it in the beginning of 2018,
Nice.
and I could have sold that date
Oh, 50.
50 times over for
Yeah.
10 times the rate.
Mm.
And
100%.
I think everybody could have.
Oh
So
yeah.
how did you guys fare with COVID? Like, what was the kind of the
Tough time.
I didn't
The
know that was
pivots.
going to be a question.
we don't have to go into if you don't want.
Yeah.
But
Well, I wasn't the owner at
Yeah.
the time, so we'll
Yeah.
just say it there. So it was not my final word.
Mhm.
I did have some input, and some things got pushed through that I really was strong about, and other things it was not down to me.
Mm.
And so there were a lot of heartbreaks.
Yeah.
There was a lot of.
It was just a challenging time.
It was
for
just
everybody, so-
challenging.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally had to take 2 mental breaks, throw my keys, throw the phone at Dawn. And I took off to Texas twice. And
Oh,
I
really?
called up my bestie and I was like, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Just get the bedroom ready. And she's
Yeah.
like, all right, when will you be here? I'm like, tomorrow.
Yeah. Come on.
At one point, Mike threw his credit card at me and said, book your flight, go see your friend.
Yeah.
Oh
I
wow.
was like, all right.
But that's good. So, but part of the reason why it's so busy this year now, this
Yeah.
your
It's-
first year. Is this your first year of owning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody's still like, cause it put a lot of weddings on hold, and then once it started opening up again, like Sundays were booking like crazy, like
Yeah.
random date. We had a couple Thursday weddings, I think. Like
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's super exciting though for you now though that this is a record-breaking year for your first year owning it. I mean, you went into wow. I mean, you stepped into it, and it's off to a great start.
No,
then
I stepped
for you.
in it. That's for sure. Yeah. And it's crazy because we were only doing the three-day weekend.
Mhm.
So we were only doing one wedding a weekend
Yeah.
up through this year.
Mm.
And then my mortgage is a lot more than Don Warner's mortgage was. Please
Yeah,
take
yeah.
that into account when you're like, why is it a different pricing structure? Why
Yeah.
are we only allowed to have one day? Because I have to sell 3 times as many weddings as
Oh
Don
yeah.
Warner sold
Yeah.
to be able to pay the bank.
Yeah.
So next year we're going to the 1 days, but we still have
Yeah.
the 3-day weekend for those that really wanted it. And it's like,
That's
okay,
great.
well, it's going to be more.
Yeah.
It has to be.
Oh yeah, that's great. Well, have you enjoyed owning it so far? Has it been
I love
a great
owning
thing?
the barn.
That's good.
I never wanted to leave the barn.
Yeah,
And I don't think I ever will be able to. Somebody could offer me
God.
like $10 million. I'm like, nah.
It's such a blessing that you did end up owning it because you knew that place. I mean,
Yeah.
you know that place inside and out.
I do.
I mean, how long have you worked there before owning it now?
Since 2017.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what's that? This is the
3, 4, 5.
5th year.
Yeah.
Fifth year.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much as long as we've been DJing.
Pretty
Kinda,
much.
yeah.
I guess we started at the same time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at that. Yeah.
We're on the same level.
Yeah. Well.
And then Bolton, we just
Yeah.
were able to open.
Yeah, so let's get into to Bolton
Okay.
Bolton Manor now. Yeah, so okay, so we got Century Farms. You worked there. Now you own it. Where did Bolton Manor come into play with all this?
So Bolton Manor originally was supposed to be a collaboration with another business owner, and that didn't work out. And that's just is what it is. Wish them all the best.
Yeah,
We're just not eating at the same table anymore.
happens.
But that came about because we tried to buy the barn in 19, and it just wasn't able to happen. So I knew that I wanted to stay in the wedding industry. I knew that Don was wanting to retire and wanting to sell.
Yeah,
So I started looking for another building, and we toured a couple of them. We looked at a couple of them, and then this church came up, and it was just beautiful. It was in like kind of off the beaten path, but really close to Alliance because it's technically Lexington Township. It had a really like cool layout and the peaks. It's completely different than the barn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a completely different aesthetic, and I knew exactly where I wanted to go with it.
yeah,
So I really did put my thumbprint of like my personal preferences
That's awesome.
on it,
Yeah.
but in a broad way. So like the colors are not black and white; it's
Yeah.
actually purple and gray.
Oh,
You
nice.
gotta
Yeah.
look really close at it.
And I will say I got to see it for the first time. When was that event? About a month ago?
That was the
So 3 weeks ago.
June 14th.
Okay, so yeah, not too far. Yeah, a little bit. So,
I
but
think
yeah,
it was June or July. It was
yeah,
July.
July.
14th.
Yeah,
I'm
not
sorry.
too long ago. And yeah, so that was my first time. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a beautiful place. You did a very nice job. It was very, very, very different and unique. And wow, I just really liked it. I mean, completely different vibe than Century Farms altogether. Yeah. My favorite thing that like stood out to me right away was how amazing it is that because they're different in sizes. And it can accommodate different people, and after seeing your pricing, it can accommodate different budgets. So
yes, I call Bolton the bowling on a budget.
Yeah.
Bowling on a budget.
Bowling on a budget,
It
baby.
is.
That's awesome.
And I just think that's so amazing. I'm from Alliance, Ohio originally, and
we're in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, growing up, we never, even today, I mean, there's not a whole lot to pick from in Alliance, Ohio. So the fact that there's another option for people for weddings, or not even weddings, it can be any event.
We have a rehearsal dinner here today.
Wow,
Oh,
great.
there you go.
When I leave here, I gotta go open up for a rehearsal.
Yeah, that's great. And when I saw that space, I thought, that can be a great place for anything, graduation parties or rehearsals, birthday. Yeah,
lots of baby showers so far this year.
And there's not very many options in Alliance, Ohio for that. And I just think like that's a really great thing for the city. And and it was very beautiful. So
Thank you.
Nice job. And is
Took a while.
Yeah. How was that process?
So we bought it in November of 20, and we were not able to get the zoning changed for 7 months because of all of the COVID restrictions. Things kept getting
Just the red tape and all that.
Yeah, meetings kept getting postponed or changed.
Oh, man.
Certain people weren't able to show up because they were stuck here, and so it took 7 months for the zoning change, which means I didn't do anything major money-wise until I knew that we were going to be able to open.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That had been probably a little stressful, I could imagine, since it's kind of out of your control.
Right. So July, was our grand opening just to let the community know, hey, we're here, but we really didn't open until the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
In 22.
Yeah, and let's talk about how that could apply to different people of budget or accommodation. So how many people can Century Farms hold?
So Century Farms, we cap all events at 250.
Okay.
We have enough seating for 200 to 204.
Okay.
And that's both for ceremony chairs, we have 200, and then inside at those beautiful wood tables and chairs, we have 204.
Yeah, awesome. And how many can the Bolton Manor hold?
100 max cap.
100 max, okay.
Hard
so that's
cap
that's perfect, because I feel like all the weddings that we've seen, if they're smaller, usually are under 100, and if they're bigger, they're usually around 150 to 125 to 200. So that really...
And everybody defines a big wedding differently.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It's all about their family. I had somebody walk in, they're like, "Are you sure it's 250?" And I'm like, "I'm positive. Why? What do you think?" And they're like, "Well, we have a small wedding of 300. I'm like, "That ain't little."
Like, whoa.
It's not a small wedding.
No, I'm sorry.
My wedding was close to 300.
You had a big one. You had a big one.
Yeah, it was a lot.
How did you survive? I can't even imagine. I had 170, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, it was. It was fun though. But
guest lists are tricky.
Guest
lists are tricky.
Yeah, you have to you have to reevaluate every relationship you've ever had in your life.
And it is. It's you'll meet those people from 5 years ago that you used to work with for a couple of months at a random job, and they'll be like, "Why wasn't I invited?"
Yeah. The worst is when you run into somebody later on that you're like, maybe I should have invited you, or I should have invited.
That's something people don't tell you about. It's all, we're just not going to invite them. It'll be all right. Now, it is all right, but be prepared awkward when you run into them at this grocery store.
Well, and we knew our budget cap.
Yeah.
We knew, if we had RSVPs at this point up to 200, we were capping hard at 200. We invited 250, knowing that there's going to be some people that say no.
Right.
Law of averages is 80-20. 80 is going to say yes, 20 is going to say no. One reason or another, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so when we started getting them back, and it was like, okay, we're under 200, I actually put some of my extra invitations in my purse. And when I ran into those people,
so
that's a good idea. That's a good tip out there.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah. Didn't get to the post office yet. So.
So sorry, guys, if any of you are listening to this. I still love you.
Yeah.
So if you got one in person, you know what?
Right.
The worst feeling was when I ran into somebody, and they're like, "When's the wedding?" I was like, last month. And then you see the look on their face where they're like, I guess that's where I stand. You're like, it's not personal.
If I could do it again, I would in a heartbeat. I would probably do it smaller.
Yeah.
But that's just me personally because it's a busy day.
Yeah.
It is.
Brides, it's a busy day.
It
Do
really
not
is.
focus on talking to every single person. You will never get to eat.
No.
And you need to eat.
Yeah.
No.
And it's just layers of stuff. Like you're worried about things happening on time, family drama.
Oh,
You know, your bridal party is like herding cats most of the time.
Oh,
have a
yeah.
small bridal party.
Oh, yeah. The bigger the bridal party, the bigger, wow.
Yeah.
That just is
I had a
lot.
wedding last week where it was no bridal party, and it was
Really?
a dream.
Aren't
it
they
was
the
a dream.
best? They're so wonderful. We've had a couple of those.
So there's something about the bridal party.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. Me and Adam talk about this a lot, but I don't know what happens to bridal parties, but it just really brings out the animal in people. I mean, it really just gets crazy.
Man,
It
they
really
get
does.
nuts.
Yeah.
Having
get
to
nuts.
get them lined up.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Like
gosh.
finding them.
I'm
Yeah.
usually out there with
So that
you
is
all.
something I
So
will
I
say
see it.
out of
Oh my
any
God.
venue. This is something that is this was something that really it will always stand out to me. Is that Kerri? It is a task to get the bridal party lined up. I mean, it is a task. It really
Yeah.
is. Kerri will every wedding I've ever done at Century Farms, Kerri is by your side through it all. Like she is helping getting them round up. She's making sure they're in the line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great
You don't know how many clones I have.
Yeah. Making sure.
because
Everywhere.
that is really
Yeah.
that is not a.
It's like the time
difficult.
that they all pick to go to the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
It is like
They
If
all
anyone-
rush to the bar thinking they
Yeah.
have to have a beer before anybody else.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when they walk in, they have to have something. And I'm like, I try to like prime like them before, like if I see any of them, like I give them like countdowns, like all right, we got like 10 minutes. Like if they're walking around the cocktail hour, I'm like, all right, you got like
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Yep.
If you see any other bridal party, spread the message. Like,
Get 'em up there. Get 'em up there.
Something that also stands out to me too is that you really help a lot during the ceremony as well.
Try to time them.
Timing them,
Blocking traffic.
yeah, being able to signal the DJ and stuff because it's something for anyone listening. Like if you're getting married soon, keep in mind because if not all venue managers or owners are created equal
staff,
at all,
yeah,
or staff, are definitely not created equal. Something that I feel like is even if someone says that you get like they're a wedding coordinator, I don't know if it always feels that way.
There is a big difference
I
between
feel-
a wedding coordinator
yes.
and a venue coordinator.
Yes.
If you want to
Yeah.
ask that question, you can ask it when you're done.
Yes, they're very different. There's very key things that I think this is a problem that I feel like is really a thing is that so many venue people will say, you have a wedding coordinator for your day through the, the venue. So, and then I don't know if it's exactly what they think that the wedding coordinator is
It's
supposed
not.
to be. And then, and on a vendor side of things, many of them don't really help in that area. So what I feel like sometimes happens is I feel like maybe they're more of like in charge of the catering when they say that, like they will help be there for the catering or they're there maybe as a point person, but they might not be doing all the tasks that you think in your mind
yeah.
Right.
they like is going to happen. So, but it's something, and I don't know if you structure it that way or not, but I can confidently say that Kerri, whatever they call it, she really does do it. Like she
We
really
call
does
it
help.
A venue coordinator.
Venue coordinator. Well, you do more work as a venue coordinator than I think than most. So, there are other ones that do that do that. There's other ones that sometimes you don't even see. So
Right.
it just depends on the venue. Are there any questions that you think that they could ask if a venue is saying, well, we offer venue coordination or wedding coordination from like maybe the person that's in charge? Is there any questions that they could ask to maybe so that way they can have more of a clear idea? Because it's kind of like a broad thing to say like a venue court, like because they're not created equal. So
No, they're
like
not.
what do you think that they could ask to maybe get a better idea of what that person is going to do during their day?
If your venue doesn't already address it. So, like, we already address it.
Yeah.
I tell you, you can consider us venue coordinators. What happens inside these four walls,
Yeah.
we will make sure it goes down to plan.
Yeah.
You give me a timeline with contact information for all of your key player vendors that are inside these four walls, and I will make sure that it goes down. Outside of these four walls, over in the villas, your hair, your makeup, your photographer that's going to be following you around like a lost puppy because that's their job. We don't handle that. That's an addition of a wedding day coordinator.
Yeah. Yeah.
A day of coordinator, or if you have a planner, a lot of them include day of coordination.
Yeah.
A day of coordinator is going to be with you.
Yeah.
A venue coordinator is going to be with the building.
Yeah. I love
That's
that.
the biggest difference.
That's a very clear
So
description.
if they say, if your venue is like, oh yeah, and we offer coordination, okay, define that coordination. Are you going to be following me, or are you going to be over here like a hermit?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't like feeling like a hermit, but I am in that building running around like chicken with my head cut off, making sure that everybody's got what they need ready to go and put on the show for you.
Yeah.
Because it is a show.
Yeah.
You're throwing a giant party for your friends.
And
a very choreographed party with people that may have not worked together before.
Yeah.
Right.
And I really do encourage anyone that is planning a wedding to ask that question and to have that clearly described, because it really is very important, and you want to make sure that like your expectations, I guess, are what's going to happen. Like you have clear expectations, and maybe, you know, if you hear, some people might hear what venue coordination, like a venue coordinator, and they might associate that with a wedding coordinator.
Because they hear the word coordinator.
Yeah, and not everyone knows that difference. And then at the same time, I think venues, so there are some venues that might try to really promote that to add extra value, but it might not be what you are expecting. So it's just about like having those clear expectations.
And that's like, to promote extra value, that's a big difference between Century Farms and Bolton Manor.
Okay.
Century Farms, we do that. We're there.
Yeah.
Bolton Manor, you shouldn't see us. We're not there. We have one person there. It's a smaller event. It's usually a lot less formal. So if you want that coordination aspect, you're going to have to hire a day-up coordinator.
Yeah.
But that's like the bowling on a budget baby. Usually you can look at your prices. You're paying what you're getting.
Yeah. And that's going to, because it's going to come with a price usually. Like it's going to, you know, even
There's
if they're not charging
value.
extra for it, it's probably not going to be a budget.
Right.
Very budget thing. You know, it's going to be a little bit extra, and but it, you know, if you're able to afford it, I think that it's very worth it.
Oh yeah.
Because it is like you have an extra set of hands.
Yep.
And not just you. I mean, how many people do you usually have working a wedding with you?
So Century Farms, we like to have at least 3.
Okay.
We always like to have 3, because we've got a large area to cover.
Yeah.
So essentially, you're having, is that 3 including you or 3 plus you?
That would usually be 3 including me, but right now we're training an amazing crew.
Wow.
So I have 3 of them and me, so I can kind of help train.
So this is something really to keep in consideration when you're booking your venue, because that's a huge asset to have. I mean, that is a peace of mind.
Yeah.
That is 3 or 4 extra hands working to make your wedding smoother.
Right, and we're keeping
the
your
background.
bathrooms clean and stocked and taking your trash out and
And
trying our best to keep liquids off the dance floor.
and maybe it does sound small to a bride, but like but it is huge. Like you helping us with the ceremony and making that go so smoothly. Because to keep in consideration, if there isn't somebody from the venue going to do that, we are going. The DJ
falls
will
on
have
the
to.
DJ most
the
of the
DJ
time,
is going to have to potentially recruit someone, maybe to help signal, or
I always
or
like recruit the photographer. I'm like, all right, I'll give you signals, you give me signals. Let them know to come.
Yeah, and we make it work. You know what I'm saying? We always make it work. But having that point of person, that's what they do. It just makes it that much smoother.
Yeah.
So, and all that stuff adds up. Getting the bridal party lined up, or like you said, the bathroom. I mean, the bathrooms is a big one.
Yep.
We mentioned that's big all in itself.
I don't want to be sitting in a stall with nobody else in the bathroom without toilet paper.
Right. Yeah.
We've all been there. It's called the airport.
Yeah. And we all know that sometimes, depending on your guest list, some people can get a little carried away, and there might be some messes to clean up.
Dude,
so
the end of the night in a bathroom at a wedding is like the most disgusting thing most of the time.
I said it earlier. Boys are icky.
Yeah. I walk in there and I'm like, what happened in here?
Yeah.
Like,
It's a lot.
Like toilet, like it's a mess.
So you were at the barn when we still had the tubs in the bathroom.
Oh yeah. Oh, you guys
don't
have them anymore.
Okay.
Oh,
you find
to be honest with you, that was a pretty good move. I think.
Yeah.
That was a little odd.
There's an extra toilet in the ladies' room, and there's 2 urinals in the men's room.
There we go.
Goodness.
And that is a game changer.
Oh
yeah,
yes, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
Not having a giant tub that people think is a pissing trough.
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh no.
Oh, I can only imagine. I guess the things you've seen there. Oh, wow.
I can't imagine.
I just got the
Yeah.
heebie-jeebies.
Man.
And something also to keep in is that you guys also do the cleanup at the end. That's something also big to. Do you do that for Bolton Manor as well?
We do.
Okay.
Bolton Manor is a lot smaller.
Yeah.
That one person that's there, they are taking the trash out. And they're making sure that things stay clean and tidy as you're going. And then at the end of the night, we do all the heavy cleaning.
Because we
don't expect anyone to do that.
That is very. That's a huge asset as well, and something that's great quality that you guys have because. I have done some weddings that really stick out to me where I feel like that maybe it wasn't communicated prior to them at different venues, and they are stuck with like, oh wait, we have to clean up.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that doesn't get communicated throughout.
Yeah.
But that has cause for some again some expectations that weren't what was going to happen. So I just think that like that is a huge asset too because no one wants to clean up after their wedding.
No.
Even if you think you do and you think you can, it's just like you really don't.
Yeah.
Like the big tent weddings in the backyards. I'm like, have fun cleaning that up.
Yeah.
Right. Because you'll never. That is a whole different type of tiredness that you feel at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different type because
like
you're mentally, you're
going
physically
from like 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're running around. It's hot if it's in the summer. You're just
hungover.
Yeah, you're hungover.
Let's
you're
just
sweaty.
Get straight to it. Sometimes you're still drunk.
It really is a lot, and you're talking to so many people.
Yeah.
And you have to.
If you're an introvert, like your wedding, like you have to just mentally prepare to go into your wedding.
We left
just
our
to
wedding
talk
an
that
hour
many
early.
people.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Because I'm one of those people where I really am an introvert, but like fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
That's part of it. So at the end of the night, it takes me a little while to wind back down, and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So at 10 o'clock on our wedding, we literally grabbed our stuff, grabbed our special bottle of wine, and did the Irish exit. Dipped out, see you later, bye.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and could you imagine? I mean, cleaning up your whole wedding after is crazy.
I know exactly what it feels like.
Oh, you do know what it would be like. Yes, to go all day and then clean up a wedding. Yes, you actually know exactly.
Exactly. That's why I have a crew.
Yeah.
And I have the best crew right now, and I'm praying they all stay.
And we've met them. I mean, you've worked with them. Your crew is always very, very nice, very friendly. Very friendly. Yeah. Even the police officers that you guys have.
Right?
And they multiply. They're so bored out there.
Yeah,
like,
it is very nice.
I don't want to jinx it, but can we have some kind of excitement in Carrollton?
Yeah.
I always make this joke whenever I talk to like the security person. I'd be like, I hope you have a boring night. And I had a couple weeks ago that they did not have a boring night.
Oh.
So, and I said that to them, and at the end they were like, I was like, wasn't boring.
So what was that? Did the groom get arrested?
It was the best man / brother of the groom.
Best man.
Started throwing some punches and. Yeah, I felt so bad for it. It was.
So I guess their job isn't always easy.
Yeah, so sometimes, you know.
And they chased him on foot, right? So that was a lot. That would have been a lot involved.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a rough time.
Oh,
I felt so bad.
Everybody got a show at that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Shut down the party early.
That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing, like, I've only had to shut down a party like 2 or 3 times early, even though I wanted to do it a couple of times. There's general rules and decorum. You're in somebody's building.
Yeah.
You are a guest here. Please act accordingly.
Yeah,
Keep your wits about you. You're here to have fun, and that includes alcohol. Have a great freaking time. Don't start needless drama.
No,
If somebody asks you not to do something, just say, "Oh, all right, my bad, I didn't know," and then don't do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna remember. Hey, didn't I already tell you not to vape inside a building?
Yeah.
Knock it off.
Yeah, and that's something that is good to keep in mind too. That we've talked about before is, sometimes it's guests will have the impression sometimes of like, oh, like they own this building for the day. We can do whatever we want. And it's like, it's still a business. It's still a business. It's still a place, a public place that needs to be treated like so.
Yeah.
Treat it with respect. How about I invite 200 of my closest friends to your house?
Your house.
Throw a freaking rager.
Destroy everything.
Can't wait. What day?
Yeah.
Next week? All right.
Bang on the grand piano.
I got this. Oh.
Yeah.
I don't have any children, but let all the sticky-fingered crotch goblins
Right.
run wild.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Doors, windows, anything you can get your fingerprints on.
So I know we hit on just like maybe 2 of those like the good questions to ask a venue to learn more about them and what to expect. What are some other questions that you think that would be good for a couple to ask? Or maybe things that you share already that you think are important at the
preemptive.
Yeah, just to kind of like to do that ahead of time, because I already think that's amazing that you clearly describe those expectations.
Yeah, we try to be a little preemptive. The thing that sucks is The venue should be the very first thing you book.
Absolutely.
You can't have a party without a place that you're going to throw it.
Yeah.
If you're going to throw a party at a venue, you need to book your venue first.
Yeah.
So if you have a photographer or you have a DJ, like you want Carson to DJ your wedding,
Yeah.
or you want Adam to DJ your wedding. So you're going off of when he's available.
Absolutely.
That's fine by all means. But when you set a date before you grab a wedding venue, you just cut your potential places down
Yeah.
to
Oh yeah.
this big, especially if it's fall.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fall.
And yeah, I think
And spring is
June is
Still hanging on.
yeah, the hot one. but
Yes.
Yeah.
June is still hanging on. I
October
think,
weddings.
but October, September, November, do not set a date before you have a venue.
Yeah.
That would be a huge one.
Oh yeah.
Because everybody always asks availability. We have ours listed directly on our website for Century
that's good.
Farms. And
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
this weekend we're working again on our website for Bolton Manor. Hopefully that'll be up soon.
Yeah.
But a lot of information will be on those websites. Frequently asked questions page. I know Amy,
Oh yeah.
Amy Beth,
Yeah.
she just bought the Hidden Abbey.
Yeah.
Well,
yep.
she
and we
redubbed it
actually
the
are
Hidden
going to have
Abbey.
her on the podcast
Oh,
here
I
in the
can't
future.
wait.
So
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
her.
Yep.
But she's on that social media. I have to pay somebody to do mine.
Oh.
I'm
Yeah.
terrible.
People
Terrible.
are good at it, right? I mean,
Oh,
like
I'm
there are people that are just like sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm like okay, and then you see because then you see other people and it's like, wow. They
You'll
are
know
going-
when a Century Farms post is mine
Yeah.
versus the person I pay to do it. It's like, Kerri did that one. Let's go. And I swear she goes in and then edits it and like puts it back on there.
Yeah.
I'm like, that looks a lot better. But Amy sent out like this 46-page PDF that she's got embedded on her website, which a lot of people would say, oh, that's a no-no. But any question that you have, it's going to be there.
That's amazing.
It's going to be there. And I'm like,
'Cause there's a lot of things to ask questions
there's
about.
so many questions that you can ask, but I think with your venue, how many people can it hold?
Yeah.
Don't know your hard cutoff and don't try to push it.
Yeah.
Every venue is different. Every layout is different. So you've got to, not so much on the bride, but on the vendor aspect, you have to be flexible. We're not in the age of just plain banquet halls anymore. That's a big open wide space.
Yeah.
They're all different.
Absolutely.
You've got to be flexible. I'm not going to go to another wedding venue and think I know how the day is going to go
Yeah.
or how everything's going to run behind the scenes. I wouldn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So as like a coordinator or a planner, I expect if you hired a coordinator or planner to meet them several times
Yeah.
before your wedding because they need to get a feel for it and know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
But I would say, how many times can we come back?
Well, that's a good one. Yeah.
How do we go about coming back? Like you can't just drop in. I don't live there.
Yeah.
Nobody
yeah.
lives on site anymore. So, if you just
That's
drop
a good
in.
question. That's a really good question.
You're gonna
'Cause I'm
be
sure
walking around back.
how many times do you feel like? I guess how many times do you feel like a bride and groom, like do come back, or maybe that you think is good for them to come back?
Oh, it ranges. I would say what I think would be good is at least 3 times.
Okay.
Your initial tour, and if you come back to sign your contracts or whatever, I just count that as 1.
Yeah.
Like that, you're not coming into plan.
Yeah.
A second refresher to come in and get like inspiration about like, okay, what colors am I going to go with?
Yeah.
And then a third one closer to the end when it's like, all right, I want to lay out my table arrangements. I want to figure out my layout. I want to talk through how this day is going to go. And I want to give you a list of who my vendors are.
Yeah.
That way, if anything comes up from between here and now, we can get ahead of it.
Yeah.
We can
Absolutely.
totally get ahead of it. Because I've had some brides get burned from vendors.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, I know their style. Let me see if I can find somebody else for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's our goal as vendors is always to make that day go so smooth and
Absolutely.
beautiful. Like,
Absolutely.
I never want to have an ugly wedding. I want
No.
to have a gorgeous wedding in
Yeah.
my building every time.
And speaking on that too, I think that's something that both of your venues add a lot of value in, is kind of making it easy to have a beautiful wedding.
Yeah, you basically just need your table decor.
That's
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got
Because
some cute little catchy signs, bring them in. But you just
for
need your
anyone
table
listening to
decor.
this, I mean, if you go to, we'll talk about both of them, but Century Farms, you don't need to get linens and all that
No.
stuff.
Yeah.
The tables are already
I
beautiful.
know.
So, and I don't know. I remember looking into this shortly for my wedding. Those things aren't necessarily the cheapest either. I mean, they charge
Yeah.
a lot of money for this, so you can already deduct that cost. I mean, that's a huge thing.
Yeah, it's huge.
Or you can do the route like us. We bought our own. Well, no one tells you how hard it is to get the wrinkles out of those things before they go on the table. We were up till, 3 a.m. getting the wrinkles out, and they still weren't all the way out. So, it's really a hassle. So that's seems small, but big.
Yeah.
It's big. Yeah. And at Bolton, we offer I have black linens because it goes with everything, and then I have purple satin too.
So it's already just.
But it's there.
Yeah.
It's an included value, and again, that's my balling on a budget baby.
Yeah, and that's a big thing to take, I guess, off your plate.
Yes, you don't have
having to worry about that.
Go and set linens on anything.
Because that's just kind of just a hassle.
It's a pain.
It really is.
Pain in the ass.
It really is. It
Pain in the
really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not fun either. It's not even something that's like really like that fun to do.
I love ironing.
Right.
Yeah. Everything.
What are things in both venues that you feel like makes it stand out or adds value, just like those things that we mentioned for your couples?
Yeah. I mean, Century Farms, we have an incredible parking area, and I know like some people don't think that, but that's entire hotel lot, the old hotel lot, we own the bulk of it.
That's true. To be honest, I didn't even really
Yeah.
think about how important that is. Yeah.
And we own the bulk of it, and then we also have a great working relationship with the owners of that building. We have access to that entire parking lot. Some people will be like, oh, well, I have to walk through the grass in heels. Well, there's other venues where you're parking in the grass.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So, I mean, I can only do so much.
And if it just rained, it ain't good.
Yeah.
Well, ours is like very rocky, lots of clay out there. Like even if it just rained, you're still not sinking into the ground.
Right. Yeah.
Which is awesome. But like, so with that, you can't do the shepherd hooks out there. Like, good luck getting them to stand up straight. I can't help you.
It's a give or take.
Yeah. It's a give or take moment.
Yeah.
But so like our parking, obviously we're fully insulated, heated, air conditioned.
Yeah, that's huge.
We have a completely separate indoor ceremony space from the reception area.
Huge.
Yeah,
huge.
I like that you guys have, like, if you want, you have a ceremony outside, you have that downstairs area for cocktail hour.
Yeah.
Or the,
Or the
backup
indoor ceremony.
Yeah, backup ceremony if and then kind of migrate upstairs. So it's like in stages where,
And when you're speaking of barns, indoor plumbing.
Yeah, indoor plumbing.
Yeah,
yes.
true. Yeah.
I've got 4 restrooms for you to choose from.
Nice water pressure.
Yeah.
I think that backup, the ceremony being able to be inside is huge.
clutch.
I actually think it's up
Especially
there.
live in Ohio.
Probably
You never know.
In my opinion, I think it's amongst one of the bigger things that adds value because that is a huge peace of mind. I mean, that is huge because your backup plan is still going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what, your ceremony is beautiful. So it's just like and it's not even it's not even really a hassle. I mean, it's really not that bad. I mean, all the chairs are already down there. Mm-hmm. Everything's down there. You're good to go. You were gonna probably have your cocktail hour there anyways.
Yeah.
So it's gonna flow really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, you just can't lose. You just cannot lose.
And I mean, every bride wants their wedding to be unique.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some brides like me that had like your colors and everything picked out from the age of 14.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what I wanted to do. It obviously changed because of my venue.
Yeah.
But there was still aspects of what I always wanted there. But that would be another piece of advice I would give brides. You hired a team.
Mm-hmm.
You hired a professional team. They have been here and done that, and especially if they're on our vendor list, they've all been and worked here before.
Yep.
If you pick all your vendors off my vendor list, you have an A team. You don't have to worry about a thing.
Yeah.
Just sit back, drink a couple of beers, have a good time with your friends.
Because that's a detail too.
Yeah.
Like we've already been to Century Farm so many times, we know exactly what to do if that happens.
Yeah.
We know exactly where to set up. We already know where to go.
Yeah.
There's some venues I show up and I'm like, if it rains,
What do
what's
we
the
do?
plan?
Yeah.
And that's when you come looking for the me of that venue. Like, what's the backup plan? Where do we go? But when you have your vendors that are there all the time, it's a well-oiled machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I would say for brides, ask if there's a vendor list.
Yeah.
And do you have to go off of it? We just changed ours to where you now have to choose a bartender off my list.
Oh, really?
I'm not letting Aunt Linda come in and get everybody sloshed anymore.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So why the bartender? Is it? Have you experienced some bad things?
The very first vendor that was put on the blacklist was a bartender.
Really?
What
is it?
Just over serving?
Is
or?
it? Yeah. What is it that causes
got
the problems?
Oh. He was over serving himself.
That's interesting.
He tried to steal a bunch of liquor from the couple.
Oh, no.
He left
All right.
10 minutes before the toasts. Like,
Oh.
it was bad
Oh,
news.
wow. Yeah,
that is bad.
bears.
That's bad.
This
And
was
that's
like
something-
a perfect wedding until 10 minutes. It was a New Year's Eve wedding.
Oh, man.
It was perfect until 10 minutes before the ball drop.
Wow.
And he just screwed the pooch. Like, I wanted,
That's terrible.
The officer wanted to press charges so bad, but he's like, I'm not going to pull the bride and groom and the parents to press charges on this guy. Like, he's not driving off this property. He's not taking anything with him. He watched him walk up the hill and walk over to Microtel.
Wow.
He's like, I will escort you, but you need to go.
Jeez.
Wow.
And he froze all the champagne for the midnight toast. Oh, no. Dude.
That's
he put it all
cardinal
in the
sin
freezer.
right there.
All of it was frozen solid. And I'm like, what do we do? And one of our rules is no shots. And I'm sorry, guys, we are not the only venue that does not do shots.
Yeah.
It's pretty common.
I have seen why not. We've all seen why that's an
We all know.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where I made an exception. And I was like, all right, what is chilled?
Yeah.
What can I do? So it was literally like vodka, Sprite, grenadine.
Yeah.
Vodka, Sprite, grenadine, just make it bubbly, make it cute. Like, not many people even cared to grab one at that point. So it would have been a lot of wasted champagne anyway. Yeah. But at the same time, it was like, you son of a bitch.
That is,
I never want to see your face again.
That is very disrespectful.
Extremely.
That's very bad.
And the bride was just, that was one of the details she really wanted. We adjusted our contract so she could be there for the ball drop at midnight and have that toast with everybody.
It's a very unique, special day.
Exactly. And that was her unique aspect that she really wanted. And damn it, we were going to make it happen.
Yeah.
But this bartender almost just screwed the freaking pooch. So we don't even play anymore. We're like, no, dude, tried and true. Yep. You're going with tried and true.
We know they're not going to get drunk. We know that they're going to be professional.
They're going to be professional. They're not going to try to skirt the rules. They're not going to try to steal anything. They're not going to try,
because they do have a responsibility.
And they have a huge liability. And that's another thing that I tell brides when they it's usually the grooms that kind of are like, but what we tell them is that liquor liability, yes, mine covers me. It covers my staff and it covers this barn. There are things that we can't do. We're not allowed to touch the liquor. I'm not allowed to serve it. That's my insurance company. No.
Oh, really? So even if you wanted to step in and kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, I had like a couple of the bridal party come back. And I'm like, do this. Like, done.
Yeah.
But we're not allowed to touch it. That bartender should have their own liquor liability that covers them. And then you as the couple should have a liquor liability that's covering you.
Oh, really?
Because your drunk friend Dennis decides to, sorry if his name was Dennis, decides to get drunk as hell at your wedding and then have a little parking lot party when he got cut off and drives out of there.
Oh, really?
And if he hurts himself or he hurts somebody else,
that can go back to the bride.
That can go back not only to the bride and the groom, but the guarantor on the contract, mom and dad that made a payment,
the
venue itself, the security officer that was there that didn't stop them, everybody.
That is
so
something
the person controlling that liquor has a lot of responsibility.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, because I never would have guessed all that. I mean, that's
the only reason I know that is because I used to manage bars too.
Yeah.
I was a bartender for 10 years, and then I managed bars for a couple of those
that's
in and out.
Wow, that's a lot of
people
responsibility.
People don't realize that, and that's not something you want to stress out about.
Right.
So that $150 day of insurance that you can get,
it's worth it
from like eventhelper.com or whatever, is so worth it for the peace of mind.
Wow.
It's only $150. But it is so worth it for your peace of mind.
Would you rather spend $150
or would you rather get sued by a random family?
Wow. Well, that's very so. Is that a real? That's a site that you know of that
eventhelper.com.
Eventhelper.com.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and that's for event liability insurance.
Yeah. And then there's
does that cover
Ventura
you for probably
too.
anything? Oh, sorry. And was that
Ventura is another one? But that's day of event insurance.
That would cover you kind of for anything, not just
it covers
alcohol.
A lot. There's different packages, but like Event Helper, all of their package includes liquor liability because that's the number one reason you should be getting it.
Wow.
And you can put your venue on there. Like they're going to ask you the venue and like requirements. If anybody is looking to have us on theirs, they just need to get a hold of me. And my insurance company tells me what they want.
Well, that's a great thing to know for a lot of people. I don't think. I mean, I never knew that. I don't think many people probably knew that. That can be a good possibility. Yeah, that's a good thing to look into.
It is. It is, and it covers.
If you're already spending tens of thousands of dollars, I guess
might as well
what's
spend 150 more
to cover the whole thing, right?
Right, and the average package is $150, and
that's not
like
bad.
Their average one.
Yeah.
And it'll cover you for those. And not saying that you should go and do anything stupid, because there are things that they will not cover, but in the case that somebody else gets stupid.
And that's good for you. That's really good for you that you took that stand, I guess, to make that. Because really, that's for a good reason. that you're having them only be able to choose
It protects
their bartender.
everybody.
And I would probably encourage, you know, if a venue is saying that like you need to pick from these people, it's for a good reason.
Yeah.
It's not to hurt. It's not to harm you. It's not. It is in your best interest.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that's something.
I understand why there's other venues out there that have a preferred list and you can only go off their list. I get it. I get it. I don't feel I'll ever be able to do a full.
Yeah, that'd be hard. Yeah.
You've got your frienders. Like, of course, I have people I would love to work with every single weekend.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you like them.
Yeah.
So, you know, go find somebody you like. That's cool.
Yeah. So if they're telling you that's only, it's in your best interest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to hurt anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. With the liquor, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because is that something that I bet you have quite a few people that want to use a friend, right? So that's probably a pretty big thing.
Because they think they're saving money because, oh, my friend will do it for free. No.
Yeah.
You should, anybody that says they're going to do anything for free, just say no.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the things in the whole wedding industry that's an easy one to like get a friend to do. Because
a friend's going to do all your hair and makeup for free for 7 girls. Just
You're
say
like,
no.
Yeah.
There's things that a friend can do to help. There's
Yeah.
things that it's just gotta really
when you're
think
planning your
about.
wedding, like there are things like you kind of have to like make your priority of like, all right, these are the things like if you don't want it, if it's not that big of a priority, maybe friend. But if it's a big priority, if you're like, I want my hair and makeup to look good, if your friend isn't working at like a salon or something,
And also think like
it's not
7 girls is a lot of girls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
they're gonna be overwhelmed.
And then that's counting mom and mother-in-law to
Yeah,
be.
there's a lot of people involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving parts, and it's the bride's job to organize those parts. But your vendors, that's another thing with timelines.
Yep.
We have our own little timeline for us, but that gives me the information of all those vendors.
Yeah.
So if your DJ is part of his job is making the timeline, cool. I'm gonna get the copy of that timeline from that DJ.
Yes.
You'll have a timeline from your photographer. You'll have a timeline from your DJ. You'll have a timeline for your venue. If they are all on point and they coincide, you're good.
Timelines are crucial.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I feel very strongly about timelines. Like I think everyone should have one, and they should, like you said, they should all be kind of synced up together. They can have their own little details in them that might be different, but
basically after dinner, it just becomes an order of events.
yeah.
Yep.
And everyone needs to be on the same page.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
That's why I always print out my timeline
Yep.
so I can be like, double check this, make sure
Yep.
we're all on the same page.
Carson knows I would come up to the booth and
We
be like,
love
hey,
it.
you got your timeline? Cool. Let me see.
Yep.
Okay. Why is mine different than yours?
Yeah.
yes. And I highly encourage you to whoever vendor that you're booking, not all of them, but the ones that are going to be there throughout the whole day. So photographer, DJ, venue coordinator, all that stuff. Definitely make sure that you definitely want to maybe ask that question. Do you help with timeline? Because that is something that is big that you really want them to.
Yeah.
You need that. You need it, and everyone needs to need it. Everyone needs to know it. So.
Yeah.
Everybody is going to need to know that page where they're going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are some hard lessons that you've learned in the wedding industry over the last 5 years?
Personal hard lessons is to not take it as personal.
That's hard.
It's so hard, especially when you're an emotional person.
Yeah.
And when you're an empathic person, it's like, dude, I feel for you.
That's hard.
But like the family drama does not, your vendors are not there for your family drama. I'm sorry, that needs to be settled before you get there.
Yeah. We always play like psychiatrists sometimes, like
yeah.
day of
Bartender.
Yeah.
Hello.
Had it before where like I played a song and it was a family song. Well, someone from the other side of the family came over and they were so crying, upset. How could I play the family song? I'm like, well, I'm just playing what the bride told me here. And then I was like, okay. I was like, well, the bride told me to play this. And she was like, well, then we need to play this family song. And then before you know it, it's like, this is not a spot I want to be in. This is not.
Right.
No one asked for this.
I had one where they came, a mother came up to me and was like, you need to ask that table to leave.
Oh, whoa.
Or to move. And I'm like, what? Because they didn't do a seating chart. That's another thing. Do the freaking seating chart.
Yeah.
It is so awkward for people that you don't know that many people at this wedding. It's going to take twice as long for them to find a spot. You got to set twice as many settings, and you're going to end up with 16 people at a table that was meant for 8.
Yeah.
Like, just do the seating chart.
It's a lot of work, but it's worth it.
You have some tables that have 3 people. Some have like way too many.
It is so worth it. And it saves you money to just do the seating chart. But they didn't have reserved tables. Mom wanted to sit at a certain table, and mom and bride didn't really get along anyway. But mom threw so much of a frickin' hissy, threw so much of a hissy fit that dad got pissed. Dad left. He went back to the hotel. He took off his tux. And when the first dance came along, that bride was standing up there waiting.
Oh my God.
And she did not know what happened
Oh,
because mom just kept throwing a hissy. And I'm like, they've already gotten up to get their plates. I cannot switch your guys' tables. Like, you were up here the entire morning. You could have, put your bag there,
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Done something.
That's terrible.
But I went over to that hotel and tried to get dad to come back, and it wasn't happening. It was not happening. So when that came about, her uncle stepped up and danced with her, and she was just bawling because she didn't know. And she was just bawling, and the photographer thought this was such a touching moment. And I'm like,
no.
No.
So I ended up running up behind this photographer and going, that is not her dad. That is not her dad. That is her uncle. She probably doesn't want these fucking pictures taken.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? I'm like, dad left. I'll tell you later.
Oh, wow.
The
Just
whole
know that
situation.
Those aren't happy tears. Those are
Yeah.
not happy tears.
Jeez.
And then mom caused more drama throughout the night, and they actually ended up kicking mom out. And she wasn't even drunk. It was just drama.
Yeah.
It was just drama, man.
Wow.
And you,
Squash any beefs beforehand.
yeah, man.
And
or lay down the law because that
Be like,
she'll
this
never
is-
get that moment
yeah.
back.
never. That is very sad.
It's so sad, and I can only do so much. Like
Yeah,
we
it's
can
not-
only do so much.
Yeah.
So that was
I always
just sad.
I always tell people sometimes before, like, if there's any hint of like if in the meetings, like if there's any like, well, my mom's gonna be like this, I'm like, appoint your maid of honor to be the point person. Like,
Yes.
have
Have
her
a
lay
point
the
person.
have her lay down the law. Like, if you see any drama, like have
Squash
some.
it.
That way you don't have to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Make somebody else like that's in your bridal party be the the
Yeah.
one that's like, this is not your day.
Right.
And there is a lot of opportunities to have family drama. This could very well be the first time in many years that maybe family members have gotten together and been in the same room and
Yeah.
first time
Oh.
seeing people.
Yeah, this was years ago. So this, man.
You just never know, I mean, like there could be
Is there
a
any wood to knock on?
Oh,
Yeah.
right. So, yeah, I mean, weddings can sometimes have
They can be
family
stressful.
family drama, and
Yeah.
then, but I mean, it's just so much easier said than done. But if you can try to at any way help it ahead of time, but
And then you'll also have those family members that try to buy favor, especially on our part. I'll get messages and calls all the time going, I want to pay off their wedding for them. Don't let them know it was me. And then it's like, we did that once. I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
Oh, did that backfire?
I'll never let it happen again.
that backfired.
Oh, yeah.
Oh wow.
Because she was basically trying to say, well, I paid for this, so I'm going to do it the way I want to do
Oh,
to the
yeah.
bride.
As
my
a power move
gosh.
right there.
As a power
Jeez.
move. And I'm
Wow.
like, and we tell brides when we're signing contract, do not put anybody's name on this contract that you don't want to have some kind of effect on your day.
Yeah.
Because a
Wow.
guarantor, like, do not put a guarantor down if you don't want anybody else having any decision-making power.
Yeah.
And I stick to it.
That's,
So I will call my bride in advance now and be like, hey, I got a message from, she called herself Aunt Linda. Is she allowed to pay for your venue? She's wanting to. I would say go for it, but I'd lay down the law with her first. Be like, that is so wonderful. Thank you so much. We can't wait to have you there. We're going to make sure that it's a fabulous day for you and everybody else. We are going to make sure it's a fabulous day for you and everybody else.
yeah.
You don't have to do anything. Thank you so much. I'll send you a cheese plate later. Like,
Wow. I never would have even thought of.
Yeah.
oh, it
That's
happens. It happens.
Yeah.
It's happened to us, and I'll never let it happen again. I was like,
Oh
oh,
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a problem, but I guess I do now. Okay.
Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of egos come out on the wedding day sometimes.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like,
From weird places.
and you and I went and saw that. We went to that mastermind with
Yeah.
Alan,
Yep.
and one of the things that he said that really stuck with me was the ceremony is all about the bride and groom.
Yeah.
You plan that ceremony because you are up in front of everybody. It is about you. The reception is about your friends and family.
Yeah.
It's a party for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, your bridal party should not be trying to pull the spotlight from that bride and groom.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just
No,
even
no,
more
no.
drama.
Yeah,
like,
don't do that.
You're the supporting cast
Yeah.
in this play today, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Supporting.
if you are any potential like future bridal party members, just make sure you're like hanging out around.
Yeah.
like where things are happening.
Right.
Don't go off on an island in the middle of a lake. Had that happen before.
Because you could. Wow, really?
Yeah.
Literally on
It was
an
a
island. Wow.
Yeah, they
Alright.
took a case of beer. The bridal party. They took a couple canoes out to it was next to the venue was next to a lake with a little tiny island in the middle.
Wow.
And they were just chilling out there, and I was like, where? They just disappeared.
Oh my god.
And
It's something that I don't know. Like, it is something that you should take
Yeah.
seriously, like being in a bridal party,
Yeah.
because
Pace yourself throughout the day too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't
For
go
the
hard
love
at
of
11
God,
a.m.
eat.
Because
Don't drink before the
chugging.
ceremony. I just had a mom pull a beer can out of a groomsman's hand that was escorting her down to seat her and throw it in the bushes this past weekend.
That's awesome.
wow, that's funny.
And I was like, are you kidding me? What was that? And then I go over and I'm like, it's a bush latte.
Oh my gosh. Because you do have a responsibility to some degree. Like you're there to have fun, but like
Yeah.
there is a
There's a
responsibility, because
responsibility there.
you really never know when you might be needed.
Yeah.
Right.
Like in your case with the before the ball dropped.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah.
What would you have done
That was
if
at the
there
end of
was
the
no
night,
bridal?
too.
I mean,
Yeah.
and they don't know all
Yeah.
these like
if you think
things in the
if you think
background.
if the photographer's like you're done, that doesn't mean like you're done.
Yeah.
You're never done.
done.
You're never like done.
Right.
Like,
You're just done taking
Yeah,
pictures.
yeah.
Now you can go smear
Yeah.
your makeup if you want to,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
whatever. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're never done until the very end of the night. Like,
Yeah.
and we have after parties in our villas all the time.
Mm,
And I tell
yeah.
them, I'm like, I expect you to, but I also expect you to be respectful and clean up
Yeah.
after yourself. There are 3 extra trash bags on the breakfast table.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
Just bag up your trash,
'em.
baby. Use them.
Absolutely.
Have a good time, but use those, please.
Rehearsal dinners. Do you guys how do you guys work with rehearsal dinners? That kind of stuff.
So that's also a new thing going into next year.
Okay.
So unless you have the full weekend package, we don't offer rehearsal dinners anymore.
Do you
Space.
foresee people doing rehearsal dinners at the Bolton Manor?
Well, we have a rehearsal dinner, just a rehearsal
Yeah.
dinner today. They aren't getting married at the manor.
Okay.
They just needed a big enough space for a rehearsal dinner,
Yeah.
and they wanted to cater it in, which is perfectly fine. That's what Bolton Manor was built for.
Absolutely.
Century Farms was not opened, and that price point on the back end, on
Yeah.
my end, does not support just a rehearsal dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I have to
Well, and
have...
that's a big space for just a rehearsal dinner.
Yeah, it's
too.
huge.
I mean,
yeah,
that's,
it's huge.
like-
Now, if they have the full wedding weekend, they have Friday night. They can come in
Yeah.
and do their
Mm-hmm.
rehearsal dinner. Outside of that, you get an hour for rehearsal, and you need to respect that time because the next wedding's coming in after you.
Yeah.
Like, y'all need to get there and be ready. But we have a great relationship with the Chop House, which is right in front of the barn at Century Farms.
okay.
And he has an awesome back room. I think they call it the Fiesta room.
nice.
But that is perfect.
That's
for
that probably works out great for
rehearsal
you guys.
dinners.
Yeah.
So like he tries to like wine and dine me all the time where he's like, you and Mike need to come in for dinner on me. Thank you for, I'm like, stop it. Stop it. We are business owners. We want to pay you. Like you
Yeah.
can't be giving away your product for free.
Yeah.
And like he'll do it sometimes where like the server will come over and be like, your whole meal was on Gary. And I'm like, well, here's a $50 tip for you.
That's awesome.
If you wish to give Gary some of it, you know.
Well, that is really nice though, and I'm sure
Yeah.
he does really appreciate it.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, that is quite a
Yeah.
few people. I'm sure that brings into the restaurant. So.
Right.
But it's convenient for you also to be able to offer that to
Right.
as an option.
And like my personal preference on that, because I had my wedding at the barn and I had the 3-day weekend, I really didn't want to clean up after that rehearsal dinner.
Oh no.
And you need to, you know,
Yeah.
like me as the bride did not want to stay and clean up after this rehearsal dinner. Take it to a restaurant, man.
Yeah, they'll get it.
Get exactly what everybody wants. You don't
Yeah.
have to bring another catered dinner in, you know, some picky eaters.
Yeah.
I'd rather go to a restaurant for a rehearsal dinner and
Yeah. If people want to hang out
Yeah.
there later,
yeah, go
Go
hit
for
a
it.
bar. You know?
Absolutely.
yeah.
But like in the venue, like time, you know, it costs money every time you turn on the lights.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just the way of the world.
Absolutely. And what would be the best way? Like, I guess if they wanted to get to know the venue or see photos or come get a tour, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
For Century Farms, it's definitely the website.
Okay.
So it's www.centuryfarmsohio.com.
Nice.
Farms is plural. Ohio is spelled out. I have to say that all the time. And all of our available dates and rates are on there.
Great.
There is a frequently asked questions, our gallery. I have a bunch of new photos that I need to add to the gallery. Like I
Great.
said, we're working on Bolton Manor's this weekend. So we don't have a website for Bolton yet.
Okay.
But we do have a Facebook for Bolton
nice.
and Instagram, which I'm not good at either. And I've come to the conclusion I have to start a TikTok, and
yeah.
we'll see how that goes.
TikTok, I've noticed
venues,
it's been getting more localized. Like,
Yeah.
like you get a lot of more like local stuff that you know.
Yeah, I've been
from
noticing
where you're
that
at,
as well.
so.
I'm not a big TikTok user either, but I've noticed.
I'm a boomer trapped in a millennial's body. Technology is not my friend. My husband had to show me how to turn the flashlight on my new cell phone.
There you go.
It's not a joke, Carson. You're looking at me like, yeah, right. I'm like, no, it's not a joke.
That's funny.
It's true. But
Sweet.
yeah. So the website for Century Farms, it's social media for Bolton Manor at the moment.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any parting thoughts? Any if you could give couples like one last like advice, like the big like your parting wisdom.
My big parting wisdom, your day is going to go so fast. Do not stress about the littlest of things that nobody else is going to notice. You hired a vendor team. Let them rock it, and you're going to enjoy your day.
Yeah.
Don't nitpick little things during the day. Just let it happen, because it's all going to go by so fast. And there's going to be stories you don't even know happen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's still some from mine that I'm like, did anybody get that on video? Like, I wanted to see this happen.
Yeah. That is funny hearing the stories from your wedding like later on. You're like,
And
that
there's
happened?
always so many. It's amazing that this many things can take place in one.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's-
And it's insane. One of our friends literally took another one of our coworkers, and his goal was to get him royally fucked up. And he did. He did. And he tried to walk down to McDonald's during the after party, which Mike and I weren't even at. Like, we were in,
gosh.
we literally booked at another hotel for the night up. Because I'm like, we are not sticking around for this shit show.
Yeah.
We're out. So they're all having the after party in the villas, and he like walked him up to McDonald's. They were so drunk they got lost. If you've ever been in Carrollton, it's one street.
Yeah, that's a hard place to get lost.
One. We're right on it.
Yeah.
They got lost on the way back. And
We'll go.
dude's wife was so worried about him that she even took off walking trying to find him. And somehow they managed to make their way back, but not before finding their vehicle, busting the window out of their vehicle to grab a bottle of whiskey. By the time they made it back with the bottle of whiskey and, you know, the damaged arm and all of these burgers, nobody was at the villas anymore. Everybody was asleep.
Okay, wow. That is pretty high up there on one of the better stories. I
would love
That's
to.
not your everyday.
That
And you
was
just found
my
this out
wedding.
recently?
Oh,
or?
no, I found that out like a while ago, but it's still one of those things where I'm like, they were so drunk that I don't even know how in the world this happened. And none of, like, I don't know if they remember.
What a journey for them. I
Yeah.
mean, they were trekking it through Carrollton.
Kentucky. They were just walking through drunk as can be to the 24-hour McDonald's with a bunch of Big Macs coming back, and nobody was there for them. They took all of our, like, nice veggie trays in the girls' villa out. And my maid of honor's husband was ticked.
Oh no.
Because he made that veggie tray for us. Shout out to Aaron, Underground MVP of my wedding. Because he made that weekend for us. Like, you'll have an MVP. Get them a special gift. Get them a special gift when it's all over.
There's always a point person, always someone like behind the scenes, like making sure things are happening.
Yeah. And if you are that point person, make sure people know you are that point person.
Yeah.
There are some vendors that have it in their contract. They'll never talk to the bride or groom on the wedding day.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you know that.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah. There's a couple of caterers that they've wanted to make a judgment call, and they're like, what should we do? And I'm like, why are you asking me? Go ask the bride. They're like, no, we're not allowed to talk to the bride and groom. I'm like, what?
Wait.
Huh.
Wow. That's okay. that's a.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, well, is it what's going to work better for you guys? Well, this. Okay, what's going to work better for the couple? Well, this. Well, how about we try this? Where's option C? But yeah, you'll just hire that crack vendor team, and you'll be good. And then make sure that somebody has a phone in their pocket at all times to record stories that you're not going to know about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That really is a fun
behind the
part.
scenes
Is
stuff.
hearing
is
about
the
it after
fun
the
part.
wedding.
Afterwards, everybody reminiscing. You're like, I wasn't there for this.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Oh
That's
man.
the fun part. So yeah, don't stress the little things. Just have a good time with your family. Let your vendors be your vendors.
Yeah, I always say people look to the bride and groom if they're noticeably stressed.
the whole wedding is stress.
yeah.
Everybody else is on edge, but if you let stuff just roll off your back, everybody's like, okay, it's cool.
So to add to that, if there are rules to your venue,
Mm-hmm.
make sure your wedding party knows that.
Yeah.
Your whole guest list don't need to know every single rule. But
That's
your wedding
true.
party, that's who people look to.
Yeah, they're going to look to them. Yeah.
So if your wedding party is doing something, it must be okay.
Yeah.
Not okay. Make sure your wedding party knows the general rules of the day, whether they're by you or by certain vendors.
And some of those important rules could be things like where to smoke.
Where
right?
to smoke.
That's probably, I know that's a big one for
That's
you
a
guys.
huge one.
Drinks on the dance floor?
As long as they're not dropping, we really don't care.
Okay.
Once
good.
they start dropping, though, then you run that risk of somebody knocking themselves
Yeah,
silly, man.
For sure.
But if you're serving in glass, no
Oh,
drinks on
yeah.
the dance
Yeah,
floor.
yeah.
Shard of glass
I
and
had someone
barefoot.
cut their foot open a couple weeks ago because they had glass on the dance floor, and they dropped several people were dropping them, and
Wow.
the guys couldn't just get out there in time.
No.
And
And if
people-
it's in
you know,
glass-
Because you have to
girls
clear
are
out a lot of
dancing,
people sometimes.
girls throw off their their
The
shoes.
come off. Kids are breakdancing.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Every time kids are going to break dance. That's
Mhm.
that's.
And
the
again,
go-to
if there
move.
is a rule, it's in the best interest.
It's
Yeah.
always in the best
Yeah.
interest. We've learned our lessons, and it's to make your day better. The last
Yep.
thing you want is a bunch of people smoking outside of a 10-foot tall door,
Yep.
and then your entire dance floor is
It's
an
smoky.
asthma tank.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you may be fine with it, but the person
You guys
next to
don't
you
have
might
that
not.
many rules, but the ones that you do
Yeah.
have are
Or
Or
for
like,
good reason.
don't let all
For
the air
reason.
conditioning out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have 40-foot ceilings and a 10-foot door.
Yo.
That's a yeah.
Close the door.
I
It
know that's
doesn't
always a
close
big one for
itself.
you guys.
Yep.
And that's something our staff is there for. Like, we
Mhm.
know there's going to be people that forget to close the door. That's fine. We can try to get to it, but don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's a sign I should just put on the door. Don't
Yeah.
be an asshole.
Just to
Close
sum
the
it
door
all
behind
up.
you.
Just sum the whole thing up.
Yeah.
If
I do
anybody knows
appreciate
me.
venues that put out funny signs that
Mine
tell
will
rules.
be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going to have to be because, or else they just won't get rid.
But
Yeah.
They
to,
won't
but
get
to
read.
your point, that is true. If the bridal party's doing it, they're going to look.
Everybody else
How
follows
the
suit.
guest isn't really going to, I mean.
Yeah,
no,
they don't know.
Unless
Yeah.
it's,
They don't
yeah.
know at all.
they're not reading a guideline before they come in. So it's like,
Oh, that would be great. Just a panel of
Yeah.
list of rules. Like, before you cross this
Like
point,
when-
make sure.
Yeah, like before you go on like a roller coaster ride, like
Yeah.
there's several signs
Yeah.
leading.
Maybe
Are
we'll
there-
have that all around the
Yeah.
property.
or do you have similar rules at the Bolton Manor?
Very similar. Because we already did actually have a bird inside at Bolton Manor.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a bird. Luckily, the bird went upstairs where the sanctuary room where the ceremonies are. So it didn't bother anybody downstairs, but still, it pooped on a bunch of stuff, and I had to go in and clean it up
Yeah.
because I wasn't working.
And
that
if their
event.
ceremony was happening or
Oh,
dancing,
yeah,
that
somebody would
yeah.
have gotten pooped on.
Yeah.
But it was because they left that front door wide open.
Yeah.
They didn't think it. I'm like, dude, there's wildlife. There
Yeah.
are wildlife. And I mean, that's how I got my cat at the barn. My cat just walked right in, and I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
Do you belong
Yeah.
to somebody?
Right,
yeah.
Well, you're mine now.
Venue pets are the best.
Oh, yeah.
They just kind of hang out. And I've had
Yeah.
them like they'll come up for the ceremony, just
Uh-huh.
be like, "What's going on up here?"
Oh, yeah. If I was, and that's the other thing, like pets, everybody wants their dog in their ceremony. That's fine. I wanted mine in my ceremony. I love dogs. I love animals. Bring them on. But they can't go in upstairs around a bunch
Yeah.
of other people that might be allergic,
Yeah.
that
Oh.
might be scared. Like, you just
See,
can't
those are
do
things
it.
that you just don't know.
Yeah.
Really always fully think about that are really
Nobody thinks
good
about
things.
that,
So,
yeah.
and that is something too. Like sometimes I'm sure people go and they're touring different venues and they might think like, oh wow, this one they don't care what you do. There's no rules, you know what I'm saying? But like that
What's
might
that one commercial? There's no rules.
right,
Put your shipping on. There's one rule.
and that might be okay for you guys. You got you know you and your fiance might not need the rules, but like when you put 200 people in one room,
You need rules.
so you have to have like, some rules.
There's got to be a sense of civility
yeah.
for some people.
Because sometimes it's at the venues that have no rules that I feel like sometimes are when the worst things happen.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't been to one of those.
Yeah.
I haven't.
We've seen the gambit.
Yeah, it's like a wide variety.
See, you guys get to do you get to go everywhere.
Get to see
I
a lot
am
of
in
things.
the
Yeah,
same
you see the
spot
same stuff.
every weekend.
And you do a good job, so it probably
That's
doesn't happen all the time.
That's
so.
great. But like, I don't get to go off and see
Just
how other people
know,
run
it's a
it.
crazy world out there, Kerri, at other places.
I just want to be where the people are.
There's some venues like that I show up and I'm like, I wish this was Century Farms, or like I wish it was a venue I knew, because like that you just have to like most venues that I haven't been to, you just have to like have to be real creative on how you
Yeah.
do things, because they're not all created equally. Like they all have different aspects that are good, and then some that you're like, all right, I gotta solve like 4 problems right off the bat and figure out how to make this work.
Right.
So,
Well, I used to
yeah.
say to some of the brides when they would ask, about me working with other vendors, and I'm like, just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick, dude. I'm not going to be a dick to you unless you're a dick to me. And you're going to know when you stepped over a line, because it's going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to change. And I told him that, on Facebook where they ask your political affiliation.
Yeah.
For the longest time, mine just said, don't be a dick.
It's a good way.
I was like,
good.
just don't be a dick.
Good rule of
Yeah,
thumb.
That's
I
it.
feel that. Just
willing-
be a decent person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm willing to work with anybody. We all have the same job.
Yeah.
Check your ego at the door.
And we
Let's
all
get
should have the
this
same
going.
goal as well. So.
Yeah, we all have
So,
the
so
same
you
goal.
you did really. I have noticed throughout this whole podcast, you really do put a big emphasis on vendors and to like that seems like to be a big part, I'm sure, of your job, like
That's-
of making
yeah.
it better or worse. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's a
Like-
so I guess that's a huge thing for everyone to keep in mind. Of how important that is.
Like, I know a lot of DJs, they hear loft, they freak out.
Oh yeah.
They freak out, and they kind of like, some of the brides will come to me and go like, my DJ yelled at me, he's not going to loft. I'm like, 1, that's not his decision. I was like, and 2, he clearly hasn't been here before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that loft is freaking awesome. Like, they got all the space, nobody's tripping over the cords, they've got all the electric, they got a bird's eye view of everything, and the sound from up there is amazing in that barn.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Bolton Manor, we don't have that aspect.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right on
Yeah.
the floor, and it's going to be a learning curve.
Right.
Because we're going from one that we've been up and running for a long time
Yeah.
to one that's brand new.
Mhm.
It's going to be different.
Yeah.
It's going to be
And
a
I'm
learning
sure things
curve.
will change as things happen.
As
and-
things happen, things are going to change. Some rules might fall off because there it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But, that's all up to my insurance agent. And, if he wants to look at them as different entities or not.
Yeah.
But the way a DJ runs is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. We've only had 2 weddings, and only one of them was the full gambit. The other
Yeah.
one was just a ceremony. This one tonight, it's just a
Yeah.
rehearsal. We had one that was just the reception dinner. So seeing the full gambit get run a couple of times
Yeah,
is going to
yeah.
be like, all right,
Yeah. Try it.
we're going to do this. It's going to be
You'll
good.
And thank you for
fine-tune it.
taking the
Yeah.
vendors into consideration. That's
Yeah.
also a very big thing as well. So.
Yeah.
Always.
And you can feel that right off the bat.
Oh yeah.
No
Like,
matter where you go.
especially when
Yeah.
if I'm at somewhere where I know either the photographer or the venue, or like there's at least some familiarity, like I've worked with this person before, it goes like 100% smoother than
Absolutely.
than a venue I haven't been to, or like you have that familiarity, like what needs to be done, and you can trust that those people that are you're working, because you're putting together like a team that day
Yeah.
that may not know each other, and
Right.
sometimes like personalities clash, and like we try to
Yeah.
be like the easiest people to work with.
That's our goal. Yeah, that
Like,
really is our goal.
Yes.
just in general. So
And I want to be the easiest person
Yeah.
to work with. And I was on like another kind of, not a podcast thing, but it was a wedding roundtable for venues. And I'm like, some people absolutely love working with me. Others hate it. And I'm like, I can't help you if you hate me for no reason.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine. You don't like me? That's cool. Whatever, man. We got a job to do. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, we'll at least be professional. We'll get this done.
Mhm.
We don't have to go for a beer afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to sit down and have a beer with Carson. I'm a little too freaking busy. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to come to me.
Yeah.
But, like, I want to host a party of just vendors.
Of course. Yeah.
That would be cool.
Like,
Yeah.
we all like each other.
Yeah.
There's no point. Like, people thinking that we're at each other's throats. And, like, no, this is not an ego game.
Yeah.
No.
It's not an ego game, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah, we always say like if there's a DJ that's got like that big ego, like DJ at clubs, where they weddings
Yeah.
are about the couple and creating just a fun atmosphere. Like
And I would keep that in mind anytime you're interviewing your vendor and trying to figure out who to hire. Just try to trust your gut. Like,
Do an
do
ego
they
check.
really feel like they're there for you? You
Yeah.
want them to be there for you because that's all that matters.
Yeah.
They're not there for themselves.
yeah,
And that's like during our tours, it's like, this is what we do for you.
yeah,
Like, yes, we're talking about ourselves. We're selling you ourselves when you're
Yeah, of
meeting.
course.
But the thing is at the end of the day, what are we doing for you and your party?
yeah,
Yeah.
Because that's what you're planning.
Mhm.
You're not planning my birthday party.
yeah,
You're not planning my wedding. It's your wedding.
Yeah.
And we all do this all the time
And
where
if
it's like, not my
everybody-
wedding. not my
yeah.
wedding, not my wedding.
Everybody is on the same page. If you can successfully do that and hire people that are all, then everyone has the same goal. If everyone has the same goal, I think everyone works together very well.
There's weddings that like it changes dramatically, and I just roll with it sometimes. Like we had a 4th of July wedding this year, and it was very like everybody, like the whole guest ended up like leaving, and there was like a core group that stayed because everybody had other parties to go to, and it was hot inside of the barn because there's no AC. It was like an open door thing, and so they're like, what if we just take all the speakers, put them outside, play some cornhole, just have fun out here, and it worked. It was great. It was, I made
It's a
it
very
work.
good solution.
Yeah,
yeah,
we
very
came
good
up with
solution.
like nobody wants to be in this hot barn.
And then you have those weddings that just
make it
aren't
work.
dancers.
Yeah,
And
They're not dancers.
and that's a very good indicator, because it would be much easier for you to stay in that one spot, I'm sure, than to move all the equipment. But it's not about you. You know what I'm saying? It's about what's best for that day, and that's something that it can be big or it can be small, but as long as they're it makes a difference when someone's there for you.
Yeah.
Whenever I see a returned form that doesn't have a DJ on it, and I'm like, what are we doing? Why is there no DJ? And then I realize they are so informal. They literally will just have decks of cards. They just want to hang out and
those are
background
cool
music.
too. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you do. It's your day. Do what you want to do.
Yeah, those are really cool.
If
not every family is our dancers.
Not everybody has to be a big dancer. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But if the device goes down, I can't help you. Is it a CD player that I grew up with? No. Okay, let's try to figure this out.
Yeah, packed dance floors are not always an indicator of a successful wedding.
No.
Everybody has a different style, and not all families are dancing families or party families.
Right.
They're just, sometimes it's just a good time to get together and hang out.
Yep.
We had a cigar bar and karaoke night at my wedding. That's what we did.
That's really
We're
cool.
not dancers, man.
Yeah.
We're singers, and all the men were out back.
Yeah.
The women were inside, and then we did a couple of line dances, and then it went back to people asking to sing.
Yeah.
And the DJ was like, well, all right. And he looked down at me, and I'm like, the people have spoken.
The people have spoken.
It's what they want to do. I
Let
don't care.
there be karaoke.
Yeah.
Karaoke. It was awesome. I loved it. Cool. And then live bands are always cool. And not knocking what you do, but live bands are always cool.
No, they are cool. Yeah. I think
I had
cool.
one of my favorite weddings of this year was a Greek wedding where I was going back and forth with a live Greek band.
Oh yeah.
It was cool. It was like, it was
fun.
it was so interesting.
Yeah, because there can be benefits of having both.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever had those couples where you're like, please let me be a part of your wedding?
Oh.
When you hear what they want to do, and I'm like, you got to do this.
Yeah.
Some
And
people really kill it. Yeah.
I've done it sometimes, and then I actually had one that she didn't come with us. I was like, son of a bitch. Because she's like, we're not dancers, but we all like to play pool, and these are perfect areas. Could we bring in pool tables? And I'm like, yes,
that'd
you
be sweet.
can.
That is really cool.
That'd be interesting.
She was gonna bring in 3 or 4 pool tables, and then
That's
it
awesome.
ended up being a COVID bride.
Oh.
So in her
That
date
would have been
was-
very
and I was
unique.
like, no, this was the pool one.
Yeah. Because trust me, your vendors love when something's a little different.
Yeah, dude. Every vendor loves when something's different because it's
Nice to change it up.
I'm gonna use that a day later.
Breaks it up a little, makes it
Yeah.
kind of cool, different things happening.
We had a tour of desserts once in the loft. So that was
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So it started off with the cake and cupcakes, and then it said more desserts this way, and then it was all cookies, and then it was all brownies.
Oh, wow.
And then down on the floor was the pies or something.
cool.
It was
man.
so cool. They still had a butt ton of desserts left.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
some advice. You will take home
Yeah.
80% of that cookie
We-
table.
I take home stuff all the time. They're like, here, take all this, and I'm like, I've been trying to lose weight.
I'm watching
I'll
my
take
weight,
'em.
and my husband is gluten intolerant. I cannot take your cupcakes or your cookies home with me.
Yeah.
There's
It
so
would
much
be
left
bad.
over always.
Every time. Yeah. There's so much. Pick one. Just pick one. It's fine. Not everybody has to have something in their hands at all times.
Yeah. Well, sweet. Any final thoughts? Any?
Perfect. So so www.centuryfarmsohio.com or social media for Bolton Manor. Just search Bolton Manor.
Just search Bolton Manor. I think it's at Bolton Manor Alliance.
Okay.
And then Century Farms is at Century Farms Ohio.
Awesome. And I'm sure. Through this, I'm guess tours are definitely encouraged. It sounds like absolutely.
me.
So
Text
Call her
me,
up.
email me.
yeah.
Looking for 2023. Have you done any
2023?
2024
And she
yet?
is really.
I do have
Yeah.
some 24s booked
Yep.
for Century
Really?
Farms.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she is
People
really your
starting to ask.
person, whether it's a small wedding or a big one.
I got
this
you,
is
baby.
she's got you
I
taken
got
care
you.
of. So just reach out to her, or if you're in between maybe and you're trying to figure out what you're trying to do, you know,
don't
just
know which
figure it
way
out.
you want to go, come see them both. We had that too.
Yeah. Maybe you're trying to decide, maybe I can have a big one, maybe I want a small one. Maybe you can see what that would look like in each space.
And at Century Farms, we did just start a weekday elopement package for up to 100.
Oh,
and
really?
we've got everything planned for you. You basically just have to show up.
So
That's
pretty
cool.
much, there is no reason for you not to contact
There's no
Kerri.
reason for you.
Because she is going to, she has an option for you, and she has an option for you with different spaces, different budgets, and different styles, and she can make that happen, and there's a lot of value, and we are big fans.
Yeah.
So,
and she might recommend us, and you might get us DJing.
Yeah, maybe. So we really do appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah, this is awesome.
And thank you for giving so much great advice and talking and allowing people to get to know you a little more.
Yep.
Always.
Awesome. Well, alrighty. We'll sign it out. I've been Adam Robb.
Carson Parmenter.
Kerri Lambert.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Wedding Workflow podcast. Join us next Wednesday for another episode. And if you've enjoyed our show, please leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts to help us move up in the rankings. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Wed Workflow Pod. And you can find us on Facebook at The Wedding Workflow. Also, please send us an email with any questions or topics you'd like us to cover at theweddingworkflow@gmail.com. And we will see you next week.